What's up everybody and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to be talking to you guys about what my last night in basic military training was really like. But before we get into all the details, let's of course cover the basics. My name is Michael Inman and I'm an airman in the United States Air Force. If you like military and/or Air Force content, definitely hit the subscribe button below and make sure you turn the notification bell to on so you know when I upload a brand new video. Without further ado, let's get into the story. The last night of basic military training, after all of the graduation weekend festivities, whether they are grand and off base, aka pre-2019 and maybe post-2021, or they were a more intimate affair with your flight members, regardless, following that weekend, that is when you, of course, will experience your final night with your brethren or your fellow sisters in your flight. For me personally, when I look back on my last night in BMT, it of course started around 6 p.m. 6 p.m. marked the curfew for if you had a base liberty or if you had a town pass. 6 p.m. was when you needed to be back in your barracks so that you could be present for roll call. When you do get back to the barracks on your last day, at least when I look back on my experience, I was not quite in the field of this being the last night quite yet. Most likely, at least once again, when I look back at on my experience, most likely you're still going to have the buzz of whether it be a base pass, a town pass, and or just the excitement of the day. Whether you just went to a Burger King across the street or not, you're not quite going to be in the headspace of wait, now it really is a goodbye to these people to my left and to my right. But when I look back on my experience around 6 p.m., that is when we rolled up to the dorm or barracks. And that is when, since I was an element leader, I of course helped do roll call. Following the roll call, making sure everybody showed up and no one went AWOL on their last night that they could. You know, you gotta end with a bang sometimes, everyone. After checking everyone off the list, it turned out that everyone did come back for at least our final night of BMT. Everyone was present. After the roll call, that is when there was a window of time to do dinner if you did not do dinner during your base lib, town pass, whatever the heck you got. And so even though I had already eaten with my family, as you might have known from previous videos, I did have the opportunity to have a second town pass just because of the honor guard situation. And so after my family dropped me off back at the gate, probably around 5:30, or back at the, I guess, barracks, I forget where I was dropped off. The point is, after I was dropped off, I was like, more food? Sign me up. I rallied with my crew, you know, my main clique, my number one since day one. And we were like, food? Food. Food? Food. And so we went down to the DFAC under our barracks and got the Last Supper. We then returned to the barracks, and that is when we were instructed by our MTI to start showering, because after the shower is when things became a little bit more procedural and things needed to get done. It wasn't just a lackadaisical, chill in the dorms kind of night. No. So, following the last shower, that is when our MTI gathered us into the day room, and it was time to do a couple of things. First, well, not first, but of course, as one would expect, we needed to have a chit chat regarding what was to transpire in the next, 8 to 12 hours. What did the next 8 to 12 hours look like in regards to what does leaving BMT look like? What do you need to do prior to leaving BMT and things of that nature? And then of course, also, it was a moment in time to do two other things. So one, what is the timeline? Two, that's when we were told, it's finally time to pack. So y'all we have opened the scary locker that we threw your things in the first night of BMT. You know, the bags that you never saw again for 8 weeks. Well, they're still there, fun fact. We've opened said door. Everyone needs to get the thing, the bag, the book bag, the travel bag that they brought to BMT and take it to their bed because it's packing time. So after just the timeline was presented to us, it became real that we needed to, one, do an inventory of everything we brought to BMT. Secondly, do an inventory of everything we now own from being in BMT. And finally, organize all of those things all of it in a manner that fits pretty much either in the bag you brought or in a very big green, I don't know if it's called a duffel bag, but we're just gonna call it the big green duffel bag. That was of course provided to you during basic military training. And of course, your BMT book bag. So those are your 3 bags, make it work. So after we are briefed on the timeline, then we are told, hey, packing needs to happen. Don't let me down because I will still kick you out the door. And then finally, the third thing that of course happens when your MTI calls you all into the room during your last night at BMT after everyone's showered. The last thing that happens is of course kind of like the storytelling aspect and the telling jokes, and just also that is the moment when your flight, if you guys have like secretly made a card or you secretly prepared some kind of speech, or your element leaders want to make a speech, or maybe everyone wants to make a speech, I don't know. But this is also when that takes place. So of course, following our timeline briefing and our, hey, packing is what you guys need to do in the next hour and a half, do it. That is when we spent about 15 to 30 minutes, more like 30 to 45 minutes, just kind of like bringing up old memories that were really, really specific to our flight. So if a certain trainee fell in front of everyone, that's gonna probably come up when people are just talking about kind of like, the top hits, the best moment of your flight to BMT experience. So anyone falling, anyone farting too much, anyone talking in their sleep, anyone being totally disrespectful at first, but we love a story arc. We love a story arc. So if they started off disrespectful, got their beep handed to them, and then they transitioned into being an incredible airman that the MTI really was proud of, that story is going to be told. There's just a lot of stories, a lot of thank yous, not many tears, but we'll see. I don't know. Your flight will have its own last night. We'll see how yours goes. The point is that final thing that happens during that last night is you get to thank your MTI, or MTIs plural, for all that they've done, for all they have instilled in you and your fellow flight mates. And also it's when your MTI gets to pretty much say, for real this time, hey, good job. Don't fail the Air Force, please. Please make the Air Force proud because you are all we got. Really. And at the conclusion of, let's say, a 45-minute moment, maybe an hour 15, that is when you guys are let loose. And the MTI really does say, bon voyage. So, after you're dismissed, that is when the packing starts happening. So for the first 30 to 45 minutes, people are mainly in their own little spots because they actually do have a lot to do within a short amount of time. We have to stuff all these things into our 3 bags and just make it so that you can carry it and make it work. It almost reminds you of when you go or come back from Beast. There's just all these things that you're carrying and it's just a lot, okay? A lot of us, all of us are kind of focused the first 40 minutes of packing time. But after that, your productivity just becomes cut in half, because this is when people start to finish packing. And so even though you may be a slower packer and you're not finished packing, your productivity is gonna be slashed, because now people are coming over to you, just kind of chatting, just telling jokes, making last memories. People are singing, some people are rapping. It's just this vibe of we're so connected, but also we're all about to say goodbye to each other in a couple hours. It's this, your last day of summer camp. Perfect example. So it's a very last day of summer camp kind of evening. And yeah, eventually you will finish packing and you will also get to go to the bed of the person that was your main person throughout BMT, where you folded socks together. You will again return to that corner of the barracks, you and your crew, and you'll just be chilling. By now you have cell phones again. By now you have your laptops again, if you brought those to BMT. Not sure if you should, but sure. By now, at least you do have some form of technology again. So you are texting people, you're calling people, you're exchanging numbers, you're taking pictures. A lot's going on. Let's now, of course, inform you guys about what the next few hours does look like. So the way that at least when I was in BMT, the way it worked is that you would depart the barracks based on what job you had. So some people would need to wake up at like 3:30 in the morning because their report time to be at the like PRC, the reception center at the other side of base, your report time would, let's say, be at 4 a.m. if you were the earliest group. So you would need to be waking up at, let's say, 3 a.m. to then grab your bags, brush your teeth, get dressed, and then make your way over so that you are in your spot with a huge group of, recent graduates from all over Lackland Air Force Base. Anyone who graduated with that job field, they all showed up at that 4 a.m. call time, and they're all in the line for that job. Because there may be, let's say, 6 or 7 different types of jobs that have a 7 a.m. call time, but then there's different lines for when you get to the reception center for each person in their own job. Because at the end of the day, after BMT ends, you are now going to tech school, and that means a flight was cool, but that flight of random jobs is no longer relevant. Now it's, what do you do? That's your crew. End of story. I think the times were staggered every 30 minutes. This is me totally kind of guessing, but let's say it was every 30 minutes, starting at 4, going all the way through about 9 or 9:30. So I do remember my time not being that early, but I don't remember what my time was. But just know, other people had to wake up at 3. I was like, I can wake up per usual at 5:30, but who's gonna wake me up? So really I can sleep until 7 if I want. But I wanted to catch breakfast, so actually I still needed to wake up at around 6. The point is I did not have the earliest call times. I think I had to show up around 8, 8:30, or 9, but that is how it's going to work. And just in case you're scared you won't wake up somehow on the last day of on your last day of BMT, luckily the entry controllers are there for you. So sadly, entry controller duty, the people who are guarding the door throughout the night, that has not gone away. And so what that means is that on one hand, your last night of BMT sucks and you're pissed about it. On the other, no one in your flight's going to oversleep their showtime because the entry controller desk will have an actual list of every showtime or every time people should be leaving the barracks their last time and who those people are. So at 4 a.m., these 15 people need to be hiking it. At 4:30 or at 5 a.m., these 6 people need to be going. So then the entry controller people are actually waking people up at, let's say, 3 or 4 or 5:30 or 6, being like, hey, wake up, it's time to go. And so that is very beneficial if you think about it, since it's the first time where there's just so many different call times, even though you're all, or at least you were, in one flight together. And though I'm sure you're thinking that, why would I oversleep? I've been in basic training for weeks. Isn't it just built in to just wake up and be good? Well, I don't know if you're tracking, but you may not be getting that much sleep the last night of BMT. Because fortunately or unfortunately, up to you, there's a lot of chit chat that's happening. And it's very, very, not probable that if you're the person on the last night of BMT when people are chit chatting and talking about old times and telling jokes and exchanging numbers and talking about sports, when all that's happening and people are clearly now realizing that this is goodbye to their friends all around them, I don't think it's very probable that when you're that one person be like, guys, I'm trying to sleep, can you be quiet? I don't think they're going to listen to you. Additionally, I don't even know if your flight leadership, your element leaders and dorm chief are going to be like, yeah, X person is trying to sleep, y'all gotta be quiet. To be honest, it probably, everyone's gonna be like, it ain't my fault you ain't got no one to connect with or say bye to. That's really rude. I'm sorry. I apologize, whoever that is, whoever I'm apologizing to. But just know you may not be getting that much sleep, so the entry controller people actually waking you up is ideal. I remember when I did eventually fall asleep and then wake up, half of the beds were gone. Actually, more like 60 to 70% of the beds were gone. And that was a little sad. That's when it really hit, they're gone, deuces. And then there were 10 of us. It felt like a game show or like Hunger Games or something, when the numbers are dwindling and you just look around and you're like, oof. Eventually, it was my turn to get up, get my stuff together, go downstairs, get breakfast. When it is your final morning of BMT, you do grab your bags, take them down to breakfast with you, and then after your quick bite, regular 10 to 15 minutes, that is when you continue on to the reception center. So yes, we will continue this timeline next week. I do hope you enjoyed this video. The last night of BMT, if we had to sum it up in a few words, it's a relief that it's over, but it's sad that it's a goodbye. If you want to see a little bit more of my face prior to the video next week, you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at @MichaelA_Inman_. Don't forget to subscribe, comment, and like, and until next Monday. See you guys later. Bye.